Ferros the Gacha Prodigy. I've never watched a video from this person, but it looks like it's doing well. Why Rinascita is the new standard for open world Gacha games. So far, I think I agree personally. Let's see what their reasoning is for it being the new standard for open world Gacha games.
All right, guys, Rinascita is finally here, and in today's video, I wanted to give you guys my honest opinion about this brand new region. And I will say, Rinascita is absolutely peak. Now, before we get started, let me go ahead and give you guys a list of things that I love about Rinascita. So number one, we're going to talk about the flying mechanic, the flying. Number two, we're going to talk about the region itself. Number three, we're going to talk about the visuals. Number four, we're going to talk about the story. And for number five, we are going to talk about the content.
Okay, I can't say too much on the content from a whole standpoint, because obviously I haven't clocked it all yet. But I can definitely I can say what the content I've interacted with so far, but I can definitely have my opinion on all of these anyway.
Rinascita. Now, when
they have fixed the flying as well, haven't they? When you're on above 60 FPS as well now.
When it comes to the flying, so I will say one thing I don't like about the flying is that you can't fly outside of Rinascita. So if you're trying to fly outside of the region, you can't do it, and that's one thing I don't like. But
as I say, for me personally, it makes sense that it works for Rinascita, and it's only in Rinascita because it's been specifically designed. Well, Rinascita's been designed with the flying in mind. You can tell that just like the verticality and the way it's designed. But I think it is a fair point to say that it would be nice to have it outside, There's no reason why you can't have it, really. It's just Huanglong's not really designed for it, and maybe, I suppose as the argument, it could maybe reduce Huanglong as a whole. But there's to play devil's advocate, does it really matter if you reduce Huanglong now? Because unless you're going back there for future story content, really doesn't matter, does it? So I think it's a fair critique to say, it's a shame that it's region locked. But as it's a free element to the game, I genuinely don't mind it not being a part of Huanglong. I do hope that future parts of, whether it's Rinascita or just parts in the game in future, and I don't mean the entirety of the game, but just, we go back to it in different places in the future. That would be kind of cool.
Other than that, the flying itself is really, really satisfying. The stamina consumption is really, really good. That's one thing I was worried about, is the stamina consumption, because
you get an extra 20% with Carlotta, don't you, as well?
When they showed the gameplay of Rinascita, with Carlotta, they showed the stamina bar for flying, and I thought that it was going to be extremely fast, but no, the bar is pretty slow. Like, the stamina consumption is actually pretty slow, and you can fly.
They've definitely designed it in the sense that they want you to use it, don't they? Which, when you look at it, you're just looking at this image here, the map's got so much verticality to it, and some, actual heights that are quite high. So wall running is just not going to cut it for a lot of these places. And just the way it's designed anyway, wall running won't work so well. You can tell they've designed that they want to keep that momentum in mind, don't they? That you had in Huanglong in regards to, that's been a major positive, I think, from majority of the community. If we're going to directly compare it to Genshin, is that exploration in Wuthering Waves has momentum and it feels nice and smooth, and you get about pretty quickly. Whereas in Genshin, you kind of feel like you're running through molasses, don't you? And at Cliff, it's like, well, shit, I guess I better go round here unless I've got a character that can benefit me in that regard. But yeah, I think it's been a really good introduction for this region
for a really long time,
and they want you to get everywhere.
What's better about the flying is that it is actually fast. It's not slow. It's really, really fast. You can fly upwards. You can fly downwards. It's really good. Now, we'll say it is hard to control your character while they're flying just a little bit. The flying can be scuffed, but other than that, the speed, the stamina consumption, everything about the flying is good. They executed.
Do you reckon some of that's been an intended design to stop you, because I think maybe if you was able to just breakneck turn, maybe it could cause some issues with performance potentially, because a lot of stuff gets deloaded, doesn't it, when you're not in a visual line of it within this game, and maybe the game would be constantly deloading and reloading stuff, and it might cause some issues in that regard.
Fit the flying mechanic perfectly. Plus, the more you explore the region, you'll be able to increase the amount of stamina you have when you're flying, good as well, which is really nice. Now, when it comes to the region itself, Rinascita,
it's gorgeous.
One of the main things I like about this region is that they perfectly executed the way that the region looks, because I'm pretty sure this region is inspired by Venice or, Italy or France, and it really gives me Italy, Venice vibes. It definitely gives me those vibes because there was this one set.
Do you know, that's one thing that makes me laugh. Like, I can't say it either. I've never been to Venice, but like I've noticed, and I've said it myself, man, it really does feel like Italy. I don't even know what Italy feels like. I've never been there, you know? And it's funny when I hear people say that as well. It's like, it's like inspired by France or Italy. It definitely feels like Venice. It's like, you don't know what country it's in. No hate to this dude, but I'm just saying, like, I've said it as well. But I'm like, yeah, this kind of has that Italian vibe. And it's like, I've never been to Italy. I've been obviously to the Mediterranean and parts of Europe, so I kind of know the European vibe. But yeah, I've never been to Italy, so I don't know. But I've also said it as well. The vibe is great though.
Where we were pretty much sitting on a boat, and while we were on this boat, there were houses, on our right and left, and there was like a bridge over us, like a.
Yeah, I said this as well. Actually, the just like the architectural design, is a massive step up compared to Huanglong, because this, not only do you have like the big citadel part of the map, which is great. The actual parts of the town where the people live feel like a place where people would live. Where like Jinzhou didn't really feel like that. It felt like it was all centered around the shop and the magistrate building and the academy and all that sort of stuff. And everything else kind of just felt like it was there. It didn't feel like a place where people would actually live and work, if that makes sense. Where like this does. Like the individual buildings that look like, okay, somebody lives in there, actually feel like a place where people live, work, and, commute and all that sort of stuff. And that's a big improvement for me. Just walking around Rinascita, it feels much more immersive in that regard. And, the little details in the buildings as well and the architectural design. You can tell they've took a good amount of time and love and care in designing it, which is really appreciated.
It gave me Italy vibes. Like, in order for you to travel through the city itself, you would have to get on this boat and travel with the boat on water. Like, it's just so dope. And
yeah, I agree.
There are some locations like,
and the skybox just catches me out so much,
because there was like this one castle. I'm gonna show you guys, but there's this
straight up Limgrave. This is, man,
one castle that definitely gives me Elden Ring vibes. And there are some locations that give me Greek mythology vibes as well. Like, the location is just beautiful. The region is just beautiful.
Again, I just got to pause it and mention the skybox, because I think skyboxes have looked quite good in games for quite a while now. But I also think it's an underrated part of a video game, because you don't really pay attention to it too much, if that makes sense. But like the skybox in Rinascita feels so multifaceted and layered and nuanced. In like, just in looking at the depths of the clouds and how much of them there are moving around, and the god rays from when the sun's setting and all that sort of stuff, and the stars in the sky at night, and that, like, they've really took some time and effort in, like, being like, right, we've made a beautiful country here, and then they've like, let's make the sky gorgeous as well. I know that sounds wild to talk about, like, in that regards, but I genuinely love the fact that the amount of detail, just into little things like the whales, the shapes of the whales in the clouds and stuff, little things like that. It's just a really cool nice little details that I really appreciate.
They did an amazing job with the region. They popped off. Like, there are so many locations, and like the way that they designed these locations, the way that they designed the city itself, it's just really, really good. The NPCs look good. The teleport waypoints.
NPCs
really
are goated.
Good. Everything.
Again, we just watched that video of that Crystal of Atlan, I think it was called, right? There's NPCs in this game that look better than the main characters in that game, and that's just ridiculous.
The thing about this region is just peak. Now let's go ahead and talk about the visuals. So there's this new feature that the devs implemented in the game. This was probably in the game already, I don't know, but I've never seen this mode before, and it's called Immersion mode.
Oh no, that's
when you turn this mode on.
I uploaded a video talking about that today from the Right Up Radio video. It's not perfect, but it's definitely a step in the right direction.
It's like you're watching.
God knows why I need my UID and my ping in the screen though when I'm in immersion mode. Just saying.
It's like you're watching a movie, or like you're playing a completely different game. Like, this immersion mode gives you the opportunity to experience how amazing the visuals are in Rinascita. There's like this one location, the Sea of Clouds, when I was going through the story.
Yeah, this was gorgeous.
I was on this
Like
boat.
the fog on the water and around, like it looks really good. Like the effects and the details, insane, absolutely insane.
With Carlotta, and the Sea of Clouds just looked really good. And there was a boss after that. It was like this galactic boss. Like she had like a galactic cape. It was just good, man. That segment was really nice. And it definitely gave me Elden Ring vibes for sure. Because there's this one boss in Elden Ring where like she teleports you to like this domain, like to this different domain, and there's like a moon behind her, and you're like in a sea of water and you're fighting her. That's the vibes
That was a beautiful boss fight as well. That was
that
actually.
that boss gave me. Plus, there was another boss in the Montelli family vault. That boss was also pretty good as well. It's like the visuals for the new region synchronize very well with the characters. It synchronizes very well with the immersion mode, and
Everything's in keeping, isn't it? Basically, yeah, like it's all designed in a rather like, you know, in line with the whole aesthetic and style of the region, from the buildings to the region, to the geography, to the characters, the way they look. Yeah, I agree.
also
To
synchronizes
the enemies
with,
as well.
gameplay. Like it feels like you are watching a movie, but you're really not. You're actually playing the game. So I will say the visuals. If I were to rate it from 1 out of 10, I'm just gonna say 10 out of 10. It might sound like I'm glazing the game.
Now, you know what? I don't mind people saying that. Like me, I never usually go for 10s on anything. Well, I don't, because to me that's perfect. But I definitely give the visuals a 9 out of 10 on this game. I think that they transcend the gacha space, in my opinion. You know, they're into the real game space. I said it earlier to Zera on the comment on one of my videos that, and I mentioned this yesterday multiple times when I've been playing Rinascita now. I've like, you know, I've forgotten playing a gacha game. You know, outside of obviously engaging with the gacha elements, when you're just roaming around collecting stuff and engaging in the puzzles and fighting some enemies and collecting echoes and all that sort of stuff, I feel like I'm just playing like a traditional JRPG, you know, like a proper game, if you will. I don't feel like I'm playing a gacha game, because and this was the same in even like 1.0 through to 1.4 with this game. I didn't ever feel like I wasn't playing a gacha game, where Rinascita's done that for me, which I've never had that in any other gacha game. And that's not to say that I don't enjoy my gacha games. I don't mean that. But you know you're playing a gacha game when you're playing a gacha game. Don't get that from Rinascita at all.
But let's be honest, guys, the visuals are really good. I'm definitely gonna give it around like a 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. I'm just gonna
I'll give
say
it a
9 out
9.
of 10. 9
I'll give it
out
a
of 10
9.
to be fair.
Again, look at that
Now, when it
skybox,
comes
bro.
to the
Look at that.
story, so I will say
Gorgeous.
for the story, I'm not entirely like, I wouldn't say that I know much about the Wuthering Waves story, but I will say that I was interested. But I will say, like, there were definitely a lot of parts where there was a lot of yapping, and
That's fair. I think the yapping in this, for me personally, it didn't ever feel like it was intruding on the story. For me, especially in comparison to 1.0, like the yap. Oh my God, sometimes it was just like, it wasn't even just the yap. It's like, it felt like we were talking about people that I just didn't care about a lot of the time. It's just like, what are we talking about here? I think the yap has definitely been reduced a lot. And when we were talking about things, it felt a lot more concise and direct. The story definitely felt a lot more intriguing as well. I do think that. I found myself actually really engaged with it, which 1.0 for big parts of 1.0 I wasn't. 1.1, yeah, same for 1.1. I was really intrigued in 1.1. I think if I had to rank the stories now, I think I'd go for 2.0 for me is the best, followed by 1.1, then probably Changli and Jian's companion quests, and then maybe 1.4 with Camellia. With Camelia's companion quest, sorry, and then maybe Shorekeeper, and then everything else was kind of followed.
I just had to skip, and thank God there's a skip button, because if I'm being honest with you guys, if there wasn't a skip button in this game, I feel like a lot of people would complain about the Rinascita story, because it is
Really?
actually
Okay.
very, very long. Like,
okay, I guess maybe like as somebody who has played JRPGs and really enjoyed story games, where I can easily dump 100 to 200 hours into like a JRPG type game that have got incredibly long stories sometimes, I don't find having a long story a problem. Now, I find yapping that's got nothing to do with anything annoying, of course. Yeah, I didn't feel like this story felt long at all for me personally. I felt like it seemed like I got through it at quite a decent pace.
I'm like halfway through the story. Like I'm actually almost done with it. But I will say 75%, I wouldn't say 75%, but I would say honestly 65% of the story quest is you pretty much just talking with the characters. You talking to I think Zani, yeah, I think that's her name, Zani, to the bodyguard, your bodyguard, and you talking to Carlotta. That's like 65% of the quest. You're mostly talking to Zani and these other characters, and you're pretty much talking to the NPCs to pretty much figure out what's going on in Rinascita.
Okay.
So I will say, you know, the pacing of the story, it's pretty balanced. The
Yeah,
pacing is
I think the pacing's a lot better personally. I think the ratio now. I don't have receipts. You're probably gonna have to go to Ryuku for this, but I feel like the pacing or the balance of yap, let's say, and cutscenes and the story elements to combat and to actually doing, you know, traversal and moving in between each little section of lore dump and story felt pretty balanced. I didn't feel like I was in a lot of. I don't ever. Maybe I'm just biased here because I really enjoyed it. I didn't ever feel like I was like, oh man, can we just get to some combat here? Maybe other people have got different viewpoints here, and maybe I'm just forgetting a little bit. Obviously, it's a little bit different because I'm streaming. But yeah, I never felt like I was just like, oh man, can we get to the combat here?
Balance, but there is a lot of yapping. I'll be honest, there is a lot of yapping, and the story is actually pretty long. It's really, really long. I did a live stream going through the story, and it was like 5 hours, and I'm still not done with it yet.
See, like for me,
the story's around.
Now, obviously, everybody's different. I don't find that a critique personally. It's 2.0. Now, I know it's the start, it's the introduction, but I feel like I would have felt really shortchanged if the story had just been like done. Because it's like, wow, okay, new area. Okay, no story now. Like, I feel like it needed a good chunk of story. You know, it's not like it's 2.1 or it's 1.1 or 1.2 or 1.3 or 1.4. This is 2.0. This is like a soft relaunch of the game. This is a whole new area. I feel like it would have done a massive disservice to the update if the story had been a really short, hey, we're in Rinascita, boom, bang, bing, bong, done. Go have fun kind of thing. I think it having a little bit of meat to it was definitely a positive.
Around like 6
personally, but obviously this is subjective, totally, isn't it?
You know, like 6 to 5 hours. If you are not constantly skipping, if you're skipping like I'll say once every 30 or 40 minutes, then it's going to take you a while to actually finish the story. But the pacing pretty balanced, but there are a lot of moments where, you know, there is some yapping.
Okay,
you would have
that's
to
fair.
skip.
That's fair, you know.
But the good thing is they actually give you a paragraph, like they pretty much summarize which part you skipped in the story, which is really good. That's one thing I love about this game, is the fact that when you skip, they give you a paragraph, you read it.
How many of you dirty skippers skip the story and then skip the little bit that tells you about what you've skipped? How many of you do that? Go on, be honest. Be honest.
You'll be able to understand which part you skipped in the story. Now, when it comes to the content in Rinascita, the content is really, really good. So there's like challenges in the open world where, like, if you're fighting these enemies, you would have to like dodge their attacks, let's say 4 times, or you would have to counter them like 4 times.
Yeah, I like
in order for you
this.
to get like in order for you to get all the rewards, you would have to.
I won't go into it in case other people haven't seen it as a spoiler, but there was one little side quest that you just found where you had to go to different ruins. And it was cool that they added in a mechanic where there's like torches and you can't do damage to the enemies when the torches are not lit. And then that you could light the torches and blow them out, but then you had to use enemies to light the torches, and then there'd be more enemies, and you'd end up moving around and trying to fight around the torch and not kill the little things, the Ignises that light the torches. That was really cool. I like that because they were like, okay, we want you to go and do combat, but we're going to add something else to it now, which I've been asking for a while, is like adding mechanics to some of the combat as well. So that was a really enjoyable thing for me. That was actually, every time I was going through that, I was like, man, this is actually really cool. This is.
Complete all the challenges. And I think that's actually pretty good because I will say the combat isn't really that hard. But when it comes to the challenge,
I think the major issue is that people are trying to finish 8 hours of story in one day. Yeah, I think that's a good point. That is. I think a lot of people try and do that, don't they? Because especially content creators, and I think just players as well, because they want to get through the story, they want the new characters, they want all the rewards, and I think sometimes this is a negative, I guess, of gacha games and how you kind of, I guess, directed to interact with the game. But you don't have to, but I understand why people do it, is the rush to get rewards. So you rush through the story to be able to do holograms and your fields and whatever it might be in regards to get all your rewards to pull on the character. Yeah, I think it's like a self-inflicted wound. I agree with that people are trying to rush through a story in one day. This is why I've said I ain't doing that anymore with the game. I was happy to stream on the day one, on day two, a little bit yesterday, and I was more than happy to do that. And I think it allowed me to enjoy the story a lot more. Because I think, we've got a really cool world here. I don't want to rush through the story. I'm not one of those people when it comes to story games anyway, and I'm talking like AAA story games here, where I'm like, right, I've got to do this in one sitting. I don't find that enjoyable, because like 7 or 8 hours in, you are at a point where you're just like, oh, can we just get through this? Because you're tired, you've been playing for hours, something that takes a minute feels like it's took 5 minutes because you're just kind of burnt out. And yeah, I think that is kind of a self-inflicted wound as well. I agree with that, actually.
Challenges, it can create some difficulty. And once you complete the challenges, you feel like you accomplished something. So I will say the content in this new region is definitely satisfying. Looking for chests is, it's actually pretty good. It definitely added a lot of, new features. You turning into echoes.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
To not defeat, but destroy these little boxes on the ground. Like, it's really fun. No, it's actually pretty good. The gameplay, the content, pretty satisfying. I didn't go through the events, so I can't really say much about the events. I'll say there's one event where, like, you have to, explore the region in order for you to get these rewards. So while you're exploring Rinascita, you're pretty much getting rewards. You're also taking pictures.
I actually forgot about these for a while, and then ended up like going from like level 0 to like level 6 or something, because I totally forgot about it.
Certain landmarks in Rinascita, like important locations. You're pretty much taking a picture of some buildings. Like, the events are, so far for me, they're not that bad, but nothing too crazy. So
that's fair.
Yeah, the content in Rinascita is very similar to the content we
comment.
received in the other region we were in previously, but the exploration is definitely on a whole nother level, especially since we can fly. Everything is a lot faster. The exploration is a lot faster. You have access to places a lot quicker, and that's a good thing. That is a really good thing.
Access to the bosses as well for materials was a good thing, the way they did that, because that was a lot of people's gripes with the Shorekeeper one, wasn't he? You get Shorekeeper, and then he's like, oh, I can't really use it now until I've cleared it, really. So I think that was definitely a good move, especially considering it was a little bit longer. So it was good to do that as well.
A lot of people, some people thought that, the flying was going to be trash because it was probably going to be slow, plus it's region locked. But the speed of the flying, like, the speed is so damn good. And the stamina consumption is chef's kiss. Like, the fact that it doesn't consume your stamina so fast, and you can also get more stamina by simply exploring, is really, really nice. Yeah. So when
it's a good engaging way to get you to explore as well, isn't it? It's actually giving you a benefit in a movement mechanic as well. So yeah, it's a good idea.
Content in this new region, I feel like there is definitely a lot of content, a lot of puzzles, a lot of things you can do in this new region, which is really good. More content equals more gameplay, and more gameplay equals more satisfaction. You're pretty much satisfying yourself, especially if you're playing with the new character Carlotta. I will say Carlotta definitely has like the best gameplay in the game so far. That's my opinion. Her gameplay,
it is fun. It is really fun. As somebody who was a gun hater, a ranged hater, the parts that I've got to use her because I don't have her yet, I've had a blast with that. She is really fun to play with.
Is really, really good. But and that's my honest take when it comes to the content in Rinascita. I don't think it's nothing too crazy, but the best part about Rinascita,
I disagree on the story aspect, but that's totally subjective anyway. That's always going to be subjective, the pacing, the length, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, man, I think this is a decent video, actually. I agree with pretty much everything he said, really.
It's the exploration. Exploration is actually fun, and I'm not a huge exploration guy, right? I'm not a huge...
I feel you there. I'm the same as well. Like, I still haven't 100%ed Huanglong. I'm not that guy, man. I'm not really a big mint picker. You know what I mean? I'm just not really a big mint picker. Unless I'm really need it or I've got a real reason to do so. I'll probably never Now, maybe with Rinascita, maybe, I don't know, but yeah, it's just not in me, man. I'd rather, if I'm at that point where all I've got to do is go around the map and mint pick, basically, I'll just play another game, if I'm honest.
Huge exploration guy.
Until there's new content.
When it comes to games like Genshin Impact, the exploration is really slow to me.
Trash.
But the flying part is what really changed everything. It really speeds up the exploration and Rinascita, which makes it a lot more enjoyable. So those are pretty much my honest thoughts on Rinascita. Overall, if I were to rate this new region from 1 through 10, I didn't experience the whole region yet, but first impressions, I'm giving this region a 9 out of 10, bro. It is absolutely peak. There are definitely,
I don't know, like, I agree with what you're saying. I'm like, is it annoying? Because, like, I get a little bit anal on this, personally, because I'm like, a 10 is perfection. And I don't think there's perfection, you know, in any video game. Like, again, I've said this before. I think the closest you can get to perfection is probably like Red Dead Redemption 2, things like Mass Effect 2 for me, you know, Dragon Age Origins, those sort of things. And they're not even 10s. But I like, oh man, it's been really, really, really good. Like, if I take it in my general ideas, I think maybe an 8. Because, you know, to me, an 8's amazing. But if I look in, like, if I try and compartmentalize in the gacha sphere, and look at the game for what it is, a gacha game, I think I would say a 9 as well. I think I would. And I don't mean to do that too much because there's so many things in this update that I'm like, damn, man, bro, this doesn't even feel like I'm playing a gacha game. So, like, maybe it should be a 9 just for that alone. You know, that it's actually done a thing that I never think a gacha game could do, is making me think I'm not playing a gacha game, which is kind of a crazy thing in my opinion.
Definitely some things that I didn't like. For example, the story when it comes to the yapping, there were a lot of yapping, but
I disagree, but that's fair.
Skip button, we didn't have to worry about that, so I wouldn't really complain too much about the yapping.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I suppose that depends, doesn't it? If you really want to engage with the story and you find it long, then I can understand people having a problem with it. But the skip button is there, so, like, you know, you can skip it. But I didn't feel that personally at all. I felt I was engaged pretty much the whole time, if I'm honest.
So besides, you know, the yapping, we can skip that. Nothing to worry about. The flying, amazing. Visuals, amazing. Gameplay, amazing. Like, I can't really say anything bad about this new update. I can't really say anything bad about it. Like, there's just so much stuff to do. The region looks amazing.
I was saying this yesterday. I was saying, like, what nitpicks have you got with the update? Because for me personally, and I think it's totally fine to be nitpicky with this update, because I think it's that good that really there is kind of only nitpicks and minor inconveniences or minor issues, in my opinion. Now, that's my opinion. So, like, I'm totally cool with being nitpicky about this update, and I don't look at people and go, "Oh, bro, you're nitpicking now," because I'm like, honestly, I think that's all you can do. To be fair,
like, hey, Kuro Games, round of applause, man. Round of applause, because as a returning player, you know, the reason why I wouldn't say I stopped playing the game, but the reason why I was barely active on Wuthering Waves is because the gameplay was fun, but it was like the exploration was really boring, right? If I'm being honest with y'all, the exploration was boring in the previous region. But Rinascita changed my mind. Like, this new location right here.
In what context are you saying that, though, dude? Are you saying that you'd kind of done everything? Because that's fair. I think, like, this is what I've said anyway. Open worlds always have this problem. When you've explored everything, it doesn't have the same effect, does it? So exploring's not ever going to be the same as what it was the first time. I don't think exploration is boring in this game at all, ever. But again, if you've 100%ed a region or you've completed the region story, POIs, all that sort of stuff, then that's a fair comment, definitely. That's a fair comment.
This is what exploration is all about. Appreciating the region itself, appreciating the way it looks, and at the same time, being able to enjoy the region by fighting enemies that you see in the open world, opening chests. That's what exploration is all about.
Yeah, probably,
you know,
Charlie.
I shouldn't feel as if I'm being held back because I don't have a specific character to explore the region efficiently.
True,
right?
true.
If I'm trying to get to a teleport waypoint, I have to have a specific character to reach that teleport waypoint. And you guys know exactly why I'm bringing up this reason, because, you know, Genshin Impact. Back in the days when you would have to get Animoculus, you would have to use characters like Venti or Kazuha to get that Animoculus. But in this region, it's like, okay, you can use your grapple hook to get the Sonance caskets. I mean, you can do that in the previous region as well. But the fact that they allow you to use grapples, they allow you to use gadgets to pretty much get to some areas.
Could you grapple to the caskets before? Now, I know you can grapple up, but you couldn't directly grapple onto them, could you? Am I tripping? Because like that's new, yeah? Where you can like literally just directly like grab onto them and like take yourself in. Or am I just totally tripping there? Because I'm pretty sure before you like, you know, when you got near them, you had to like jump up and stuff, didn't you, in there? Yeah, you couldn't before. Okay, yeah.
And the open world is really good. Like, it's actually very, very nice. I don't feel like I have to summon for a character to experience the exploration.
That's true. That's true. They're just, man, the FOMO though. There's no need to summon the characters, but the want is real.
To experience like the full value of Rinascita's exploration. Like, I'm already satisfied with the characters I have. So overall, Rinascita, peak, 9 out of 10. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. What you feel about Rinascita. But so far, they definitely popped off for this new update. And yeah, I'm gonna have to give credit where credit is due. Cruel Games, you guys did an amazing job for Rinascita.
I think that was a fair video. Again, I disagree on the story part. I think that was a totally fair video, though. Dude's a young dude. He spoke well. He was eloquent. He let you know that it's totally his preference and his personal opinion on the things that he was saying that he wasn't a fan of. I disagree on those things personally, but again, totally subjective. Yeah, I think he made some good points there. I feel like it's kind of like one of the best, if not the best, update to a gacha game, personally. If you look at kind of all the things across the board. But yeah, you guys are going to have to let me know what you think anyway, man. But that was a great video as well, guys. Definitely, you know what? I'm going to drop a subscription to this dude. Drop a like as well. Because I think, you know, he was well-spoken. And I think that was a good video, man. Good content. Definitely keep it up. Keep it up.